Imagine the neighbor who waves at you every morning, a dad at a church potluck, a quiet doctor who knows your name and asks about your family. Now imagine they hold a secret that could break your town in half. This is a story about killers who lived among us. Some never named, some caught after years of hiding in plain sight. Doors were locked, lights stayed on, trust cracked, and yet life kept going. What if the danger was never the shadow in the alley, but the smiling face across the street? A letter lands on a newsroom desk in 1969. It has strange symbols, a chilling tone, and a simple claim. This is the Zodiac speaking. Soon there are more letters, more symbols, and more fear. A name built from mystery, and ink starts to haunt a whole region. By day, the Bay Area hums. People ride streetcars. Teens cruise along winding roads. Families picnic near the water. Somewhere in the crowd, a man blends in. He buys stamps. He walks past a newspaper stand and reads his own headlines without a flinch. The city bustles, not knowing a cipher and a cold gaze are already part of its story. Attacks shock quiet roads in a city street. Letters taunt police and press. The cat-and-mouse game grows. Tips flood in. Suspects rise and fall. People install deadbolts and travel in pairs. Years pass. The case becomes a mirror, reflecting the limits of police work at the time and the fog of too many false leads. There is no final reveal, only a hard truth. No confirmed identity. In 2020, a long unsolved cipher is decoded by civilians, and it gives a message but not a name. The killer's voice remains a ghost, trapped in old headlines. The question that haunts everyone remains. Who was he? The Zodiac becomes a legend that no one wanted. Movies, books, and forums keep the case alive. Amateur sleuths pore over photos and handwriting. Detectives revisit boxes of files. But behind all the talk are victims, families, and a city that remembers what it felt like to be watched by someone they couldn't see. A nickname built from cruelty appears in a series of messages to the media and police. It says, "I am here." Then the voice goes quiet for years. Just when the town begins to breathe, it returns. The silence was not safety. It was patience. Dennis Rader is a church leader, a husband, a father. He works as a city compliance officer. He writes tickets, trims hedges, and smiles at neighbors. He is the guy you'd trust to run the town barbecue. He learns where people feel safe and steps around those places like a man walking through his own living room. Decades pass. A small Midwestern city tries to move on. Then a new letter shows up in 2004. It is like a bad dream returning in daylight. Rader tests the waters with a computer disk he believes is untraceable. He asks a question. Can police track this? He is told no. He sends it anyway. They trace it. The disk metadata points to Rader's church computer. Investigators quietly gather DNA and connect it to past crime scene evidence. The knock at the door is calm. The truth that spills out in the interrogation room is not. The man the town trusted had used that trust as cover. Shock spreads. Parents replay every time he waved. A city rebuilds, one potluck and prayer at a time. The lesson is harsh. Evil can look ordinary. Investigators also learn the power of small digital crumbs. A single file, a small lie, they can pull down a mask years later. For years in California, people hear bumps at night and do not sleep again. A wave of break-ins and attacks starts in one region and moves south. A shadow crosses counties in decades. The name changes from one nickname to another as the locations change. The fear, however, stays the same. Joseph DeAngelo is a former police officer. In later years, he is a suburban neighbor who fixes things and grumbles about noise. He takes out the trash. He keeps a tidy yard. He nods at people he passes. The line between protector and predator is not just blurred, it is betrayed. Detectives keep scraps of hope in file folders. Survivors grow older, but do not forget. The case seems too big, too old. Then a new idea lights up the room. Use genetic genealogy. Family trees, public databases, patient, careful work. A branch connects to a leaf that was missed for years. In 2018, police watch DeAngelo's routine and collect discarded DNA. It matches. The arrest is quiet. In 2020, he pleads guilty to multiple murders and admits to many assaults. In a courtroom packed with survivors, he hears their voices. The man who hid in the dark has to face the light. A new tool changes cold case work. Families who waited for decades feel a door finally open. Others see a debate about privacy and justice. But most of all, California remembers this. Ordinary neighborhoods were host to extraordinary fear. Now, at last, there's a name, a face, and a sentence measured in lifetimes. New Orleans, 1918 to 1919, a city of music and heat. People wake to a nightmare. Someone has broken in during the night. Tools from their own homes are used against them. Panic spreads. A letter appears in the newspaper, mocking the city and promising a night of mercy for anyone playing jazz. The victims are often small shop owners, many of them immigrants running family stores. They sweep floors, stock shelves, and close up late. The Axeman, whoever he is, walks past lit porches and open windows in the deep southern night. He knows the sounds of a sleeping city. Police chase phantoms. People buy locks and sleep in shifts. Bands play late on the promised jazz night, and the city becomes a strange festival of fear. There are suspects, rumors, and false confessions, but no firm answers. The Axeman seems to fade in and out like a bad tune that keeps returning. There is no arrest, no final scene in a courtroom, no confession that closes a file. The Axeman disappears as suddenly as he came. The city is left with questions and songs that carry a strange, frightened memory. The legend grows. Writers turn the story into folklore. Historians point to old investigative limits. New Orleans, a city that celebrates life, is reminded that fear can also dance in the streets. The music keeps playing, but the notes carry a shadow. A family doctor is the last person you would expect to doubt. People trust him with their parents and grandparents. When they pass away under his care, he signs the paperwork and offers kind words. For years, it seems like sad luck. Then a daughter questions a will, and the lie begins to crack. In his town, Dr. Shipman is respected. He makes house calls. He knows names. He shows calm, steady care. He appears to be that rare person, solid and safe. Inside the neat office and tidy home, however, the numbers do not make sense. Too many deaths. Too many similar patterns. A patient suspicious will draw his attention. Her body is exhumed. Tests raise alarms. Investigators look back over years of records. The pattern is chilling. A public inquiry later concludes that the number of likely victims is well over 200. The most trusted role in a community turns into a mask. In 2000, Shipman is convicted of multiple murders. The shock is not only the crimes, but the scale. The case changes how the UK tracks prescriptions and death certificates. A deep, painful question hangs over families. How do you rebuild trust in care when the caregiver was a danger? A nation mourns. Reforms follow. Data reviews, safer checks, better oversight. People learn that systems must never rely on trust alone. The lesson is not only about one doctor. It is about all the ways everyday roles can hide harm. 5 lives or 5 mysteries show the same shape. They look like us. They live next door, talk about the weather, and wave from driveways. They use trust and routine as cover. A uniform, a job, a smile. Communities react the same way, across time and place. First confusion, then fear, then a long ache that does not go away. Technology and teamwork can break silence years later. A single file on a disk, a DNA link in a database, a sharp-eyed daughter reading a strange will. If there's a single thread here, it is this. The ordinary is not always safe, and evil is not always loud. It can be quiet. It can be polite. It can be the person who holds the door. We all want to believe we would spot the danger. We tell ourselves we'd notice the odd detail, the wrong smile, the missing piece. But sometimes a mask is too good, or the system is too slow, or the night is just too dark. So we remember, we learn, we listen to survivors, we fund the labs, we check the stories we tell ourselves about safety, and we hold close the simple truth that keeps communities strong. Watch out for one another, and do not be afraid to ask hard questions, even when the face across the table looks kind.